Over the course of Monster Jam history, we as fans have been reminded of some of the greatest shows of all time, like World Finals 9, Jacksonville 2010, Atlanta 2012, World Finals 8. We've seen shows like that a lot. However, we've also seen shows on the other end of the spectrum. Shows that are so bad, it's made us question sometimes why we do watch the sport. Sometimes these shows are, memeable. And sometimes they're just, what the f***. And today we're going to look at the top 10 worst shows in Monster Jam history. Let's get into it. Two things that will be taken from this video that should be noted. Number one, this is for since the modern era of what I call Monster Jam, 1997 to current, and also shows that were mud shows do not count, because that would not be fair to those. To say there was a lot of hype going into this event and how under-delivered is an understatement. To kick off the 2007 season, Monster Jam was in Minneapolis again as they usually start. The problem was that things were about to get really bad. The track, well, at least the dirt, was not exactly ideal, and it was made almost immediately clear after Dennis Anderson's racing incident where he was injured and missed the entire 2007 season. Tony Farrow quickly found that out as well, of what can go wrong. And with all the other trucks having issues, this includes an Escalade not even competing in the entire event due to different issues throughout the night, the racing bracket became fairly depleted because this ended up being Courtney Jolly's first stadium appearance in her entire Monster Jam career, Damon Bradshaw's debut show, and the return of Redacted. I think I know why this show sucked in the first place. Anyways, due to much of the field being depleted, Tom Ince basically had a near cakewalk. In freestyle, they brought in Chad Tingler for Gravedigger, and, it's pre-World Finals 9 Chad Tingler. What do you expect? Tony Farrow was alright, but really the rest of the runs were alright. And Tom Ince, all he had to be was good enough to win. 2012 is known as one of Monster Jam's greatest seasons of all time, with some of the most incredible freestyles around. However, this event is one of the anomalies of that year, and really the entire show for that matter. And it started off, when you look at the lineup alone, you know that this, yikes. Some trucks didn't even make it out for the wheelie competition alone, and a good almost half the field was broken after the wheelie competition for the donut competition. And you think that this really would have been a cakewalk for Gravedigger, except that you're forgetting this is 2012 Charlie Pauken, who had probably one of the worst seasons in Monster Jam history. There's probably more that should be covered about this later. But outside of that, getting one Cyclone win and David Smith winning wheelies and freestyle, it really was very just underwhelming to not good. As many trucks either really were just unspectacular, or they rolled over, or they were just broken for a lot. Somehow 14 trucks made it out for freestyle despite a lot of them breaking. But really, it was just not very good. As well as whatever Charlie Pauken's attempt at this was.
Oh no! We suck again!
Dennis Anderson's famous rant from the show is all that's really well remembered from the show, and that's probably could be a good thing, considering that majority of the show really was not that good, considering that the track itself in racing was very difficult, and a lot of trucks struggled throughout the night, and especially with getting up on two wheels. Tom Ince and Dennis Anderson made a final round. Tom Ince won pretty much almost unchallenged. Freestyle was an entirely different disaster, as really it was more of, not really disaster, just very mid, as most of the trucks really were just unspectacular. Tony Farrow won with a 24, and, Dennis slammed the wall, and Tom, yeah, that didn't go well, didn't it? This show is known as probably one of the worst shows of this era, maybe the worst show of this era, and in my opinion, the worst show of a year that was not very good, no matter what Torquise Easy says. This is a well-known and pretty infamous Houston show for people who attended or at least knew that happened. However, outside of that, you probably don't really know very well this event, as it's been unkept from a majority of the MJ community, and there's a good reason. While racing itself was forgettable, although you have Morgan Kane against his old truck in the Iron Man before getting defeated, freestyle was not good. Most of the runs that were early on were mid, and really the main hitter runs were not good, considering that there were 4 trucks that scored a 19, and somehow Frank Krimmel scored a 20 and managed to win the freestyle in Fox Sports 1 Cleus' 3rd ever stadium appearance. And really, it probably should have been a sign early on that this was not going to go well. 2014 is known that of a year that many people love, but this was a show that was very, very bad. This is no doubt going to be the most controversial one on this list, and maybe for good reason, but really World Finals 19 is known as just really not good for a lot of reasons. With considering how this ended up being the last show at Sam Boyd Stadium, there was a lot of hope that this, at least MonsterJam, could go out with a bang in the sand. Almost the complete opposite happened, as racing was mostly unspectacular, except for some of the crashes and Cole Bernard's wild spill on the outside lane. The final, though, was very unenthusiastical, as it was Gravedigger versus Gravedigger. Freestyle, though, was a whole different issue, as a good percentage of the trucks were one-and-dones, as about 25% of the field, and really only 75% of the trucks did not even make it through to fill the entire clock. Only 8 trucks managed to even fill the entire clock. And also, really the only 2 or couple major highlights is Charlie Hawkins' wild slide, the LeDuc 360 spin, and Ryan Anderson's freestyle. Those were really the only good things that came out of the entire event. And, of course, the Rampage Encore. We all know what happened. It went horribly wrong. And also the fireworks incident. This World Finals goes a lot deeper in of how much of a disaster it was than I think I could probably cover in this video, and one that I myself don't think is coverable on this channel. If we have the award for most depressing show of all time, I think this would probably be the winner of that. St. Louis 2009 is really one that is well known, and pretty much the moment it started, things were not really going well, especially considering the racing series. Tom Entz, blew the truck up. And the finals was unbelievably bizarre, with Brutus and El Matador, with Darren Basil somehow winning his first racing show, biggest event of his entire career. Freestyle pretty much seen much of the track was way too big, and it became obvious after run 3, seeing that Darren Migas and David Smith took it very cautious and easy. Chris Bergeron showed what happens whenever you go too hard. You basically had to find a middle ground, and it was nearly impossible, as really only 2 trucks even completed the runs, the first 2 that I mentioned. Everybody else had either rolled over in the middle of bonus time, or very early in their run, or had some type of mechanical problem, or if you're Charlie Pauken, just regular pain. This event is well known for colors line as well as trying to get over the stupid thing. Except that, in my opinion, the only stupid thing that was from the show was the entire track. Too much. Also, remember what was on the same day as this event? This event is known as the most disastrous show in Monster Jam history, and some say it could be the worst of all time. But in my opinion, it's not completely. Now, it's known racing was not going well at all, as many trucks broke, some of them slammed the wall. If you're Pablo Hoffaker, you blew the same wheel off right off the friggin' hub twice after 2 runs in a row, and Jim Jack was able to somehow survive racing and broke immediately afterwards. The same thing with Joe Cypher's Airborne Ranger. It was so bad that only 3 trucks even competed in the freestyle. However, Alan Pisa managed to win the show with a 28 for a 5-second freestyle where he ended up going over the ramp and caught the back end of it and slammed the wall. Jack Meredith has now been triggered by this. Also, this show really goes a lot deeper than I think I can cover from. Something that the man that I just mentioned being triggered needs to cover. Have I mentioned that 2009 was one of Monster Jam's worst seasons of all time? Yeah, I don't think I did, because here's another show at 3. Indianapolis, there was a show that saw probably a good amount of hype considering that it was the debut show at the pretty brand new Lucas Oil Stadium, as the RCA Dome had just been demolished that December. However, it became abundantly clear during racing that this track, especially with the dirt, was not going to be very easy with racing, considering that, well, if you're Randy Brown, you've done what you've done. Chris Bergeron oofed himself right into a crash, and Tom Mintz, well, called a fail and celebrated before he had completed the course, giving John Seesock one of the easiest wins of his career before Mintz's truck exploded. Freestyle was not, I don't even think I even want to have to go down the path, but I've got to. There were a stupid number of trucks that either broke early after doing something spectacular or just, well, were unspectacular. If you're Ricky Brantley, just 3 runs were able to even fill the clock. Jim Benzik has had some nice notes at least, and Chris Baker had a solid run. Randy Brown, being Randy Brown, pretty much junked the truck, didn't even get into bonus time and didn't fill the regulation. And Tom Mint, have I mentioned yet another thing? Wrong winner. Another undeserved winning run for Randy Brown. The score should have been flipped. I know the fans will have righted it, but guess what? Fans are wrong. End of discussion. This show has been considered the worst stadium show in Monster Jam history, and some, including myself, have said it is the worst show of all time. And there are some reasons behind that. Due to all stadium shows being run during this day, that meant that the lines had to be strung out a good lot. However, there were still some interesting players, although you would expect Lindsey Wink probably to just run away with it. That kind of happened in the racing, although looking at the track itself, I think you knew freestyle was not about to go well. No one really remembers racing, except that it was probably a lot better compared to what was about to come in freestyle. A stupid number of trucks either had mechanical issues or broke or just did dumb shit like aftershock. And also Lindsey Wing trying to cross-red Jim Kohler in the broken busted endless Avenger that managed to get 24. Pre-World Finals Chad Tingler doing, well, that. And, of course, Courtney Jolly's career-ending injury. Yeah, this event is terrible. And, in fact, out of all the trucks, only one truck did not have an issue. That was Scarlet Bandit Don Creek, whose strategy of pretty much almost piddling around with not a whole lot of momentum ended up being a strategy that almost won the entire damn show. God, this show was terrible. Pryor at least got third. I mean, come on. Was there really any other question what was going to be number one here? I think this is probably one of the most hated events in monster trucking history, and one of the most infamous as well, due to the stoppage of crushed cars not being used in early 2019. Feld had to do something, considering that Manchester didn't want dirt. And, well, we got 2 yoga mats and tiny little things. 2-wheel skills did not go well because there was no dirt for traction and it was all concrete floor. And, well, freestyle went about what you think with blocks racing, to be honest. But really, the entire event did not have much hype going in or much hope, and it even managed to underdeliver as it was pretty bad. There were some tracks that were able to get some stunts, but very few times. And really, it was pretty much dominated almost completely by Neil Elliott and Max T 1 week before the World Finals, by the way. And, I gotta get out of here. If you guys enjoyed this complete disaster and love watching more disasters like this, you could watch some of these shows. You could probably watch the whole things. But I'm going to go and watch some highlights of World Finals 8 and Atlanta 2012 now. Like, subscribe, and hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, see y'all next time.